June was all but behind us, and the swift season more than half gone. Swift's cries resounded across the skies of the Kirtlington churchyard, but only on Chris's CD as far as I could tell, playing on repeat and possibly falling upon deaf little ears. But I felt I was seeing a more complete picture. People had deprived the swifts of their original nesting sites when they chopped all the forest down. By chance, and with some resourcefulness on the part of the wily industrious swift, traditional building practices had opened up nesting opportunities for them. And now, only humans rising to responsibility could save the humble swift. This human-swift bond the swifters have tapped into is precious, and getting children engaged in that experience could be the magic mix that will make a difference. But there was so much more for a budding D-grade swifter to learn and willing swifter interviewees across the county to meet. I travelled to Coombe, another Oxfordshire village still lost in an English time warp, and met with Richard Woodward, who had done a poles, or more correctly done a woodward, and knocked several holes in his lovely home, accommodating no less than 11 swift pairs. The swifters shared their stories, Richard speaking with some emotion about 2 swifts he'd once hand-reared and saved.
In this instance, 3 years ago, when the weather was very bad, by the end of the 3rd week of July, all the swifts had left, and in this case, two single chicks were left in separate nests to die, basically. So we brought them out and hand-reared them. One flew in about a week, and the second one took nearly a month. But they both flew, they both fledged.
Richard invited me up to the loft, and once more I was entranced with the sensation of this alien world in close-up. A parent with its seemingly fearless, beady eye on us, ever protective of its young. They were now nearly fully feathered, but still under their parents' watch. Richard shared now familiar descriptions.
When they get in the gang together and the way they scream and dive bomb the house all through the summer, it's just fantastic, I think. Watching them, it's just like watching the red arrows diving by. Yeah, it's really good.
Up to Drayton, east of Banbury, where Pete Tuzio describes similar thrills and spills.
I suppose you've got 2 months really, or 3 months of sheer, I suppose, excitement really. They just are so quick and so fast. It's like watching Formula One in your garden really, but in birds, because they just go, it's probably exaggerating, but 100 miles an hour through this garden, and the screaming noise that goes with it. It's sort of summer really, isn't it?
Supersonic aircraft, red arrows, Formula One, the speed, the adrenaline rush. It was all part and parcel of swifting, something we all have the opportunity to share in. As Pete described more hammering through of walls, Chris Poles no longer seemed a nut to me, just a fully fledged swifter doing his bit for the cause. I left Pete zoned out in the spare bedroom on Channel Swift, while his wife Christine caught up on the latest from Albert Square downstairs. Closer to home in Chesterton, I met Mike Whitford, who had lived in the same house all his life. Dispelling the niggle that swifting might be the preserve of those with idyllic 18th century cottages or 40,000 tons of ancestral pile, Mike described his childhood longing for swifts and what transpired.
Yeah, I mean, I used to sit down the road there when I was sort of just about old enough to walk out there on my own and sit down there under those thatched roofs watching the swifts come and going and thinking how nice it would be for them to nest in my house. And then in later years, when they covered the thatch up with the wire and the swifts couldn't go in, I put them some nest boxes up to track them. But they didn't really go in the nest boxes, but they went into the roof and they've been going there ever since. It was as if they knew I wanted them to go in there and they just seemed to go in, whether they did or not. That's how it seemed.
Was Mike onto something? Did the birds have some sense that picked up on a swifter's goodwill? Cloud Swiftland perhaps, but I didn't see the birds nesting in other similar houses in the village. Unless, of course, other villages had eco-proofed their roofs and in so doing barred the swifts from entry. More likely. I made a visit to Atterbury, where swifter Jill Boss shared another tale of swift saving.
So I brought it in, and after about 3/4 of an hour, I felt this heartbeat, just a faint one. And so I held it a bit longer, and it got a bit stronger. And so then I decided that it was getting dark, and I didn't want to stay up all night with it, so I put it in my propagator, took all the plants out, switched the propagator off, of course, and then left it there, put the lid on, and thought it would be dead in the morning. And there it was. You know, what am I doing in here? So I took it out, and then some other swifts came flying quite near, and suddenly off it went. And I was hooked after that.
And with the season nearing its end, I felt compelled to ask the inevitable question.
Just something about these birds. I find it very, very sad. It's like a death every year. But then from about the second week in August, I say goodbye to them every morning in case they go and I don't see them again. Wish them a happy journey, safe journey. And stupid, isn't it? I'm not really stupid.
A short drive down to Deddington and one more swifter to meet. Recently widowed Wendy Mayer, who I met as the sale was going through of her family home. Wendy's husband, botanist and writer Walter Mayer, had taken a keen interest in the swifts that nested not in their home, but in the eaves of the offices across the street. I asked what swifts meant to her.
It's the herald of spring, really, when they come. They sound so joyous and happy, and they fly pretty low sometimes. They come right over my head. That's because the insects are there, I guess. They're very much there. They're very much part of our street here. Everyone loves them.
And that same question, how does she feel when they leave?
It's the herald of autumn. Well, you know, they've gone elsewhere, and their work is done for another year. Their young have gone, and have to wait another year, and it's quite a wait.